We're in the right place.
I'm gonna go ahead and take myself out of the line of fire for this one, guys.
I think we can all agree that there hasn't been a new National Treasure movie for almost 20 years now, which is kind of crazy to think about. But just this week, producer Jerry Bruckheimer came out and said that National Treasure 3 is actually still happening, and it's not just some dead project gathering dust. He even confirmed that both Nicolas Cage and the director from the first two movies, John Turteltaub, are going to come back for this third one, so that's a pretty big deal. Bruckheimer mentioned that they're getting closer on that one, which is the most solid update we've had in a long time, so it feels like there's finally some real movement. The whole thing started back in 2004 with the first National Treasure, where Nicolas Cage played this treasure hunter named Benjamin Franklin Gates, and he was on this huge quest to find the Templar treasure. That movie did really well at the box office, making about $347 million worldwide off a $100 million budget, so obviously that was a success. Because of that, they made a sequel in 2007 called National Treasure Book of Secrets, and that one actually did even better financially, pulling in around $459 million from a $130 million budget. Even though the sequel made more money, a third film has just been stuck in limbo for years and years, with nothing really happening, but now it seems like there might finally be some progress on it. While we're all waiting for more details to come out about a third movie, it's pretty fun to think about what kind of treasure Ben Gates could go after next, because there are actually a bunch of real-life hidden fortunes out there that would be perfect for the franchise. It's worth exploring some of these mysteries that could easily be turned into a movie plot. One of the most famous unsolved mysteries in America is the case of D.B. Cooper, and his hidden cache in Washington state is still out there somewhere. For those who don't know, back on November 24, 1971, this guy hijacked a flight from Portland to Seattle, and he claimed he had a bomb on board, so he demanded $200,000 in ransom and 4 parachutes. The airline gave him the money and the parachutes in Seattle, and then he told the flight crew to fly to Mexico City, but shortly after takeoff, he just used one of the parachutes and jumped out of the plane over some wooded area, and he was never seen or heard from again. The mystery is still unsolved, and nobody even knows his real identity, but the weirdest part is that in 1980, this 8-year-old kid named Brian Ingram found a packet of bills from the ransom money on the Columbia River, about $5,800 worth. The rest of the money, though, has never been recovered, so it's this perfect case for someone like Ben Gates to dig into, because it's got that mix of history, mystery, and a fortune just waiting to be found. Another great treasure that's still missing involves the famous Fabergé eggs, which were created by the Russian jewelry firm House of Fabergé starting back in 1885. The first one was a gift to Emperor Alexander III's wife, and because of that, Fabergé ended up being named the official goldsmith of the Russian Empire. Between 1885 and 1917, they made 52 of these incredible eggs, but the whereabouts of 6 of them are completely unknown today. After Vladimir Lenin took over the Kremlin in 1917, the Fabergé family had to flee to Switzerland, and then Lenin's successor Joseph Stalin sold off several of the eggs in 1927, with some ending up with American industrialist Armand Hammer, who brought them to the United States. Later on, Forbes magazine publisher Malcolm Forbes got his hands on 9 of them and put them on display in New York City. One of the eggs sold for $16.5 million in 2007, and Russian oligarch Viktor Vekselberg paid $100 million for 9 of the eggs, plus about 180 other Fabergé items at auction in 2004. Those eggs have shown up in movies like Game Night and Red Notice, but they could definitely provide an intriguing mystery for Gates to solve, especially because there are still 6 of them out there somewhere. Moving on to something a little different, there's a pirate treasure in Maine that actually has a connection to Captain Jack Sparrow, which is pretty wild. The residents of a small town called Mockysport might be sitting on a legitimate fortune that dates all the way back to 1716, and it's connected to a pirate named Samuel Bellamy. There's been a rumor that Bellamy was actually the inspiration for Johnny Depp's character in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, so that alone makes it interesting. Bellamy built a home in Mockysport, and apparently he's also built this massive underground vault at the mouth of the Mockius River to store his treasures, and it's rumored to hold millions of dollars worth of stuff. After he built the vault, he set sail to find more valuables, but unfortunately, he was captured and hanged in Massachusetts, and he never came back for his treasure, so it's still undiscovered. That's a treasure hunt Gates could really get into, because it's got that classic pirate lore and a vault that's just sitting there waiting for someone to find it. Then there's the burial chamber of King Kamehameha in Hawaii, which is another amazing possibility. He was the first true king of Hawaii, and he united all the islands together in 1810, ruling for 9 years until his death in 1819 at the age of 61. It's believed that he was laid to rest in a burial chamber that contains a fortune of gold and jewels, but it was never found, so it's just out there somewhere. What makes this especially perfect for the National Treasure crew is that there's already a clue built into the legend, because an ancient Hawaiian proverb says, "The morning star alone knows where Kamehameha's bones are guarded." That's exactly the kind of tantalizing hint that would get Ben Gates and his team involved, because it's a centuries-old fortune with a cryptic clue attached to it, and that's pretty much the whole formula for these movies. Now, circling back to the third movie, the update from Bruckheimer is really exciting because it confirms that Nicolas Cage is on board, even though he's been pretty skeptical about it in the past. Back in March 2024, Cage made some pretty candid comments where he basically took a shot at Disney, saying there was no National Treasure 3 and telling people not to look at Disney if they want to find treasure. That was a pretty blunt statement, but it's interesting because it directly contradicts what director John Turteltaub and screenwriter Ted Elliott have been saying over the last few years. In August 2024, Elliott told the National Treasure Hunt podcast that a first draft of the script was actually done, and that Ben, Abigail, and Riley were all included in the story, so the project has clearly been moving forward even if Cage was publicly doubtful. Bruckheimer's recent comments seem to confirm that work on National Treasure 3 hasn't stopped at all in the 14 months since that first draft was completed, and it could also be a sign that Cage has changed his mind and is now on board with the idea. If the script gets finalized this year, shooting probably wouldn't start until 2026, which means a 2027 or even 2028 release date is possible, but it could also take another year or more to get a script that everyone agrees on, so there might still be a long wait ahead. At the same time, it's important to think about whether this is actually going to happen, because it's been almost 2 decades since Book of Secrets came out, and that's a really long time for a franchise to be on hold. Even though it would be incredibly exciting to see Nicolas Cage, Diane Kruger, and Justin Bartha reunite with Turteltaub for another adventure, there does come a point where it's just been too long and the momentum is hard to regain. However, getting Cage back as Ben Gates is a major piece of the puzzle, and that alone could be enough to get audiences interested, because he's such a huge part of what made the original movies work. So even though it remains to be seen whether National Treasure 3 will ever actually happen, Bruckheimer's latest comments are definitely a reason to be optimistic, because they show that the project is still alive and moving forward, and that's more than we've had in years. And that's that for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. And don't forget to like this video, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to our channel to stay in the loop. And if you want, you can share your thoughts about this video in the comments section down below.